Okay, hi juniors, my name is Mr. Duffy. I'm here to talk to you about extended essays in Group 1 Literature and Language in Literature. I hope you join us if you can. First of all, I want to answer what type of people would be interested in doing an extended essay with us in Lang and Literature. And really, I guess the first thing is you have to have some sense of appreciation or enjoyment in your Lang Lit or Lit class. You go there kind of excited to explore books and literature and themes. Even movies, you might like speeches, you might like something magical about the rhetorical devices, but there's some sense of fulfillment or satisfaction in pursuing those ideas. A second thing that's a really big help if you join us over here is you want to be a reader. One of the goals about doing extended essays is that you're pursuing a passion. So if you've read books, if you have a favorite author, if you have a favorite poet, if your soul is moved by the books you read in classes, the classes you take, then that's a really cool thing. And in fact, if you are a reader and you have a favorite author, a little bit of the work might be done already, in a sense that maybe you love the work of Suzanne Collins and The Hunger Games, and you want to explore power in there. If you've read the books, you're kind of a step towards getting that done. Finally, I suppose you have to want to explore kind of an artistic way of looking at things. Literature is a bit more open-ended than maybe sciences and those kind of ideas, so there's many ways to explore what we do in the class. There are 3 different categories that we have in extended essays for literature and language, and I briefly want to go over those ones. The first one is exploring literature originally written in the target language, which for us would be English. It's the language that you're taught in. So you would look at books that are written in English, and a question might be something like, by what poetic means does Caroline Duffy empower female voice and identity in a selection of her poems? You would take 2 or 3 of her poems there, or 4 of her poems, and really analyze them with that question in mind. You could look at books like Pride and Prejudice, or Emma, or Death of a Salesman, or works along those ones. The second one, category 2, is a comparative work, wherein you have to do one work in English, the target language, and another work in translation. That might be something like, what similarities are there in the female protagonists of A Doll's House and Macbeth? So A Doll's House originally written in Norwegian, and Macbeth obviously written in English. What is the theme of self-awareness explored in a book like Siddhartha, which is written in German, and Brave New World? That's a comparative essay, one language and one in translation. The third one is more your language aspect of your Lit and Lang class, where you start looking at things like speeches or ad campaigns or news articles or editorials. The question there might be, to what extent does the use of rhetorical devices in the speeches of Greta Thunberg increase their effectiveness? Or, of course, Donald Trump and his use of language is in the news all the time. By what rhetorical means has the Trump administration used pathos to promote his America First agenda? So you start looking at non-literary texts and exploring those ideas. So I guess one of the misunderstandings is, can you study work from the class that you've studied? So you've done A Doll's House or you've done Candide, or you've done Hamlet, or some poems from Caroline Duffy, let's say. Yes, you can study the same author, but you need to go beyond the classwork that you've done. So there might be a poem or 2 that have triggered a thought, but you're meant to go beyond the research of that book and explore the question on your own terms. So you might choose an author and read other texts from them. You might look at that first book, but then compare it to 2 or 3 other texts that they've done. So yeah, you can. There's a seed that can be planted in the class that you studied, but you have to go beyond it. Another question too, I suppose, is to what extent is this like a commentary, like a personal response, and to what extent is it research? There is meant to be a balance between your own interpretation of the works that you study with secondary sources and what the critics out there say. So it's kind of a 50-50, 40-60 thing, where you bring your own interpretations and ideas to the work, but you are meant to balance it with research. My big tip is, if you love literature, if you enjoy the arts of the class, if you enjoy exploring those things, then I think we're going to have a lot of fun. That's the biggest thing. And most of the people that have worked with me or the English department have enjoyed themselves. They come with a new kind of understanding of themselves and the work that they studied. So find your passion.